Welcome to Red Film Recap. The Devil's Rock is a 2011 New Zealand horror film. It is set in the Channel Islands on the eve of D-Day and tells the story of two New Zealand commandos who discover a Nazi occult plot to unleash a demon to win World War II. The film combines elements of war films and supernatural horror films. This is an awesome little indie film, and I highly recommend that you give it a watch. This review may contain scenes of simulated graphic violence, and is suitable for mature audiences only, so if you are ready, spoilers ahead. On the eve of D-Day, two commandos head towards Faroe Island on a sabotage raid to try to draw Hitler's attention away from Normandy. A dark foreboding cloud covers the island as the two soldiers land on the beach. Once they land and take cover positions, Captain Ben Grogan and Sergeant Joe realize they have landed on the wrong beach because a strong current pulled them away from their original landing zone. They crawl up the beach checking for mines. Joe suggests he meets a girl he knows and move on from his wife who passed away. Agitated, Ben says they need to move faster. As they move up the beach, Joe steps on a mine and Ben helps him off while Joe keeps watch. They hide their canoe and Ben looks at a picture of his late wife. They quietly move along the beach and come across a fortified German outpost. They locate a path and move up. As they traverse through a dark wooded area, they hear screams coming from the outpost and then rapid gunfire. They reach a clearing and discover a massive cannon pointed out towards the ocean, in view of the German compound. They hear screams and figure the Germans are torturing a captive. Ben wants to investigate, but Joe says it's not their mission. They close ready to the cannon and scan for threats, then step into the target zone. Ben keeps lookout while Joe grabs explosives from a backpack. Joe takes point while Ben attaches the bombs to the cannon. While he is priming the explosives, the main entrance to the compound opens and a German soldier runs out and vomits. Joe gets his attention and Ben sinks his knife into the German's neck. They hear deep screams echoing from inside the bunker and Ben wants to investigate. Joe demands they leave to protect the mission, but Ben is not having any of it. Give me 10 minutes, Joe. 5. Ben descends cautiously into the German bunker. The tunnels echo and are poorly lit. As he investigates, he hears low groaning. A gunshot puts Ben and Joe on high alert, and Ben heads down the dark tunnel following the echo. Joe enters the compound to search for his friend. Captain Grogan heads towards pitch blackness. While scanning the passages, Sergeant hears a noise from the dark but moves on, and we see a German soldier come out behind him. Ben moves in deeper, and Joe hears German voices coming from an upper level and moves in. He slowly ascends the staircase and nears the voices. Horrified, he scans the room full of bloodied corpses and blood splatters across the walls. He turns off the German radio and begins acquiring evidence from the scene. Ben spots a German soldier at the end of the tunnel and Joe moves towards a black book. Disfigured corpses litter the room and he inspects the black book. Upon opening it, he realizes it's a book of occultic sciences. Ben discovers the German soldier has committed suicide. Another German enters as he pages through the book, and when Joe turns to face him, he shoots him. A gunshot alerts Captain Grogan, who fears for his friend and moves quickly as Joe spurts blood from his mouth. The German picks up the book and fires a shot into Joe's head. Ben enters the room and sees his dead friend, and is surprised by the German and knocked unconscious. In the next scene, Ben is bound and is woken by the German soldier. He gathers his bearings and is angered when he sees his dead friend. The German picks up a knife and he realizes he is about to be tortured. The German begins to intimidate the captain and asks his name, rank, and number. He threatens to cut his tongue out and ties wire around Ben's thumbs, which causes him intense pain. He drags him over to a wall and lifts him onto a steel hook, causing Ben perpetual agony. Just then, they both hear a woman's blood-curdling wail from another room upstairs, and the German begins interrogating Ben and beating him, wanting to know military intel about the invasion that is about to commence. But Captain Grogan remains defiant in spite of his torture. The German points his gun to his head and Ben curses him. Another spine-chilling wail and the German is clearly terrified. He says it is hungry and he takes a metal bucket with body parts up the stairs. Ben scans the room and sees a can opener, and with great effort, escapes the hook while he hears the German praying before tossing the meat into the room. Ben hides the can opener up his sleeve and quickly leans against the wall. The German sets up two chairs and after inspecting the captain, brings him over and sits opposite him. Ben gives his name, rank, and number and asks about the woman and the bodies around the room. The German screams that it was the woman who did it, but Ben doesn't believe him. The German says they are both in trouble and identifies himself as Colonel Klaus Mayer. Ben carefully cuts his bonds while Klaus questions him from which islands the invasion of France will take place from. Klaus says that they are of the same blood and should be fighting alongside each other instead of against one another. Klaus looks at the photo of his dead wife and taunts Ben by burning the picture. Ben tells him she was his wife and that she died in a German bombing raid in London, to which Klaus shows remorse for the war. Ben frees himself and the two begin to struggle for control of Klaus' pistol. Ben overpowers Klaus, but he manages to flee into the tunnels as Ben fires a shot at him. A game of cat and mouse ensues, as Ben searches frantically for him. Klaus says they are both in trouble and they need to help each other. Klaus claims the woman killed all the soldiers and Ben fires 2 shots into the dark tunnel. Investigating, he finds a trail of blood indicating he may have shot Klaus. He returns to the main room to retrieve his photo and says parting words to his dead friend and takes his amulet. A woman's voice calls for help and he covers Joe and cautiously makes his way up the stairs to where the captive is being held. Scanning the room, he sees occult symbols and paraphernalia and a woman chained to the wall sitting in the dark. While comforting her, she turns and Ben is horrified. It's his dead wife. Ben is confused as his wife begins pleading for him to find the key to her chains. Klaus enters the room armed and warns Ben not to release her and to move away, while she begs Ben for help. He says it's not her wife and Ben struggles internally. Klaus shoots Ben and then his wife. They struggle, but Klaus is weak from loss of blood, and while Ben almost suffocates Klaus, he claims he has information about a weapon the Germans intend to use in the war. Captain Grogan demands to know how his wife, Helen, can be alive. Klaus explains he was sent to the island on a secret mission which would change the outcome of the war. He tells Ben the island has a history of witchcraft, and while Ben sees his dead wife, Klaus and his soldiers all see their own loving partners, who were all far away from the war. Klaus says the woman violently ripped apart all his men, though Ben doesn't believe him. Klaus claims that while his men were scavenging for food from starvation, they found an abandoned ruined cottage which contained a grimoire of ritualistic witchcraft, which the Germans used to summon a demon. He asks for Ben's knife and Klaus proceeds to cut a limb from a dead soldier. He summons the demon who heals and raises itself and stares at them both. The demon attempts to seduce Ben with unbelievable power but cannot resist human flesh. It succumbs to its hunger and we see its true form for the first time, a demonic succubus. Klaus says they must banish the creature but he is dying from his gunshot wound. Captain Grogan removes the bullet with no sedatives and Klaus screams in agony, which appears to drive the demonic succubus wild with hunger and tries to break its chains, until Klaus passes out from pain and the demon relents. While Klaus is unconscious, Helen senses Ben removing a small bag from around the German's neck. Ben bandages his wound and inspects the pouch. He compares the torn Latin page to one missing inside the grimoire. He tears out another page to replace it in the pouch and puts the original piece in his pocket. While pondering, Helen softly calls out to him. He ascends to the chamber and she tempts him by offering herself to him. He snaps out of a slumber and heads upstairs to check on Helen. Upon returning, Klaus is awake and begins to show Ben from the grimoire the true nature of the beast, how it deceives men and eats them. Klaus explains he was ordered to test the book's rituals, and that he is protected by a page from inside the occult book of which the demon is forbidden to harm the holder. Klaus divulges it was the plan to unleash the demon in London, to terrorize and slaughter everyone, and that she cannot be killed by conventional weapons. The demon is only a lesser demon and Klaus proposes Ben help him banish it and he will surrender the grimoire to the Allies, for protection against prosecution for himself and his family. A message comes through the radio informing Klaus that soldiers are being dispatched to retrieve him the morning, to which he panics and urges to dispel the demon as soon as possible. He requests the pouch for protection before starting the ritual. As they prepare, Helen tempts Ben. The demon becomes agitated as they cut themselves for a blood offering, willingly as the ritual prescribes. The demon screams and tries to free itself. It breaks the chain and as they flee, Klaus inscribes a sigil over the door to contain the foul entity long enough to complete the ritual. Terrified, the 2 soldiers begin inscribing a seal of protection on the ground as the demon smashes the door. Klaus warns to not stand on or over the circle, but only through a small gap, and continues to prepare the ritual with candles and symbols. Ben gathers candles. Klaus chants occultic words and the demoness smashes on the door. They complete the barrier and Klaus warns to not leave the circle, and they wait for the demon. They hear cackling laughter and Joe raises from the dead to try get Ben to cross the barrier. Ben is hallucinating and Klaus protects him. They hear the door buckling and tearing off its hinges, signaling the demon now approaches them, and it is very hungry. Helen takes a key and releases her bonds. She plays with Ben and attempts to seduce him by revealing her naked body to him. But Grogan sees through her ploy and she becomes enraged, revealing her true form. She then tries to convince Ben the Germans will unleash demonic forces on the world and kill millions. Klaus begins chanting words of authority which agitates the demoness. She desperately tries to seduce Ben before Klaus completes the ritual to banish her back to hell. Ben is attracted by her powerful seduction as Klaus begs him to resist as he repeats the ritual chant. Helen claims she can't devour him because his righteous soul is repugnant, but she desires the evil German and suggests a trade. Klaus betrays Ben and slashes his fingers off and prepares to sacrifice him, enraging the she-devil. Klaus pledges his allegiance to his country and requires Ben's brave beating heart to send the demon back to hell. Ben stabs Klaus and they struggle to the delight of the demoness. Ben overpowers Klaus and stabs him again as Helen begs him for the German's flesh. She shows great delight as Ben casts Klaus into her clutches. He claims he is protected, but she rips the pouch away and reveals he has been deceived by the smirk on Grogan's face. She taunts Klaus and reminds him of the punishment she warned him of when he bound her. She embraces him and mocks him before she bites his entire head off as Ben smiles gleefully. He continues the ritual, but Helen again tries to seduce him. She crosses into the circle by walking over blood towards Ben. He can't resist as she begins to suck the blood off of his injured hand. She talks so softly, but he is afraid. But she senses he wants his wife back and reveals her nakedness to him. They begin kissing deeply and fall to their knees. Ben is lost. Suddenly, he pushes her away in pain, telling her his wife was unique and no one can replace her. As he shackles the demoness, she screams in anger. She taunts him, claiming he is like the Germans, but he says she should thank him because many more Germans will come now. Voices come across the radio and she smiles at him to hurry because they are coming. He places the key within her reach and she is bemused as Ben quickly leaves. Ben stands on the beach as the sun rises and buries his photo and amulet of his loved ones. He looks up to see the invasion of Normandy begin. The movie ends with a German soldier entering the slaughter room, shocked by what he sees. We see the headless body of Klaus in an empty chain when suddenly, a beautiful woman appears. She can't believe he has arrived for her, and as she slowly approaches him, her soft voice lowers to that of a devil. I hope you enjoyed my movie recap. Leave your comments below if you have seen The Devil's Rock, or if you would like to watch it now. Take care, and see you next time.